Verity's Brow is an exotic that I haven't talked about in a while, mostly because I kind of forgot about it, but also because I was never really a fan. You gotta remember, Arc as an element didn't really get the freshened up treatment until just a few seasons ago, so while everyone was having fun with Void and Solar, Arc Striders and Stormcallers were sitting on the sidelines wondering why Joggeroth didn't love them enough. Fast forward to the here and the now, and the entire sandbox has changed. A handful of new exotics have finally been given a chance at the spotlight, and in my opinion, one of those is Verity's Brow. I want to take a moment to actually look at it and really examine it for what it is and what it can do as a part of the player's toolkit. Verity's Brow. Weapon kills with a matching subclass element grant a stack of death throws for 11 seconds, up to a maximum of 5 stacks. All stacks disappear on buff expiration. Death throws grants an additional 50% base grenade recharge rate and a 20% increase to grenade damage per stack, so at maximum stacks, you're looking at an additional 100% grenade damage, on top of an extra 250% in grenade recharge speed, and that makes for a very powerful explosive. Now, on a grenade toss, allies within 18 meters or so receive a buff called Feel the Flame, and this grants an unconfirmed 1,000 additional % to grenade recharge rate. Holy fuck. The duration of that buff is determined by the amount of stacks the player who initially threw the grenade had when they threw their grenade, multiplied by 2. So at 5 stacks of death throws, that's 10 seconds of ultra holy shit grenade regen for your allies. It's kind of hard to pass that up. However, that is more just food for thought. This is a solo build more than anything else, much like the rest of my builds are, but it's important to know all of the strengths of your chosen exotic and what it can actually do. And like just about every other exotic, it can be extremely powerful in the right situation. That is the entire point of an exotic, to bend the rules of the game ever so slightly in the favor of the player. And I think Verity's Brow is a good example of that. Moving on to skill trees, your super isn't really an important factor here, neither is your rift or your melee. What's really important in the grand scheme of things is your choice in grenade. Now, all of the numbers here come from the Destiny 2 data compendium, which will be linked in the description in the event that you haven't heard about it yet, because it is fucking incredible, and if you're not using it, you should be using it. In terms of raw damage in the immediate, you're gonna get your best bang for your buck with the Flux Grenade, hitting at 1436 with a direct hit bonus. Also, I want to take a moment to point out that not only did I send the script out to Daedalus before he graciously grabbed all the footage you're watching, but I also specifically asked that he use a Flux Grenade, which he did not, and then never said anything about it, so I have to assume he was just being a fucking cuck? All jokes aside, thank you, Daedalus, for grabbing this footage for me. I'm sure it was an accident, but still, fuck you, I'm docking your pay. Anyway, you can use a pulse or a lightning grenade too, provided you take Spark of Magnitude. Lightning grenade is going to hit for a base of 1380 over the course of 4 individual bolts in a cone shape. Magnitude raises that base to 1725 by adding another bolt before the effect dissipates. And then we've got the pulse grenade, which hits for a collective total of 1523 over the course of 6 damage ticks, including the initial detonation. Magnitude increases that to a base of 1983 by adding 2 additional damage ticks. I almost always go with Flux in any other scenario because it hits incredibly hard in an instance, and personally that's what I want, but with Spark of Magnitude, both Lightning and the Pulse Grenade have their own areas in which they could excel, and are, at the very least, worthy of some consideration. Now, let's talk about aspects and fragments. Lightning Surge. While sliding, activate your charged melee to blink forward, calling down lightning strikes that jolt targets as you rematerialize. This allows for 2 fragment slots, and it is absurdly fucking powerful. Next is Electrostatic Mind. Defeating targets with arc abilities or defeating jolted and blinded targets creates an ionic trace, and collecting said trace amplifies you. Now, these aspects together allow for a total of 4 fragment slots. For fragments, things split up into subcategories depending on whether or not you want a single explosive that deals large amounts of damage in a single hit, or if you're more comfortable with incremental but large damage ticks. We'll start with the Flux Grenade. Spark of Discharge. Arc weapon final blows have a chance to create an ionic trace. -10 strength. Spark of Shock. Your arc grenades jolt targets. Spark of Ions. Defeating a jolted target creates an ionic trace. And lastly, we've got Spark of Recharge. While critical, melee, and grenade energy regenerate 400% faster. To the best of my knowledge, this does stack with death throws, making your grenade recharge absurdly fucking fast. Now, if you want a pulse or a lightning grenade, you can just swap Shock and Ions with Magnitude and Volts. Spark of Magnitude. Your lingering arc grenades, such as the Lightning Grenade, Pulse Grenade, or the Storm Grenade, have an extended duration. As previously discussed, this adds an additional Bolt Strike for the Lightning Grenade and 2 extra damage ticks for the Pulse Grenade, which is far more than generous, if you ask me. Next, we've got Spark of Volts. Finishers amplify you. The only purpose this serves is just being an extra amplification source. That is it. Now we're going to talk about some weapons. Or rather, a weapon, because it's the only one you really need. Everybody loves Trinity Ghoul, right? You should. I'd honestly be more concerned if you didn't. I want to take a quick look at this because it is a prime choice for the build that we're working with here. Split Electron. Fire an arrow that splits when released. Aiming a full draw will decrease the spread of said split arrow. Lightning Rod. Precision kills grant the next shot chain lightning capabilities, which, in case you weren't aware, is a fucking crowd control king. And lastly, we've got Forked Lightning. Lightning Rod will trigger from any arc final blow, either ability or weapon. Forked Lightning makes this bow extremely powerful when paired with an arc subclass and an arc heavy, because at that point, just about everything you do will trigger Lightning Rod. This bow is already great without the catalyst, but it is exponentially more powerful with the catalyst. And for what we're doing here, I'd even go far enough to say that it is an absolute necessity for the build itself. If you don't have the catalyst, go get the catalyst. If you do have the catalyst and you just haven't finished yet because you're lazy like me, finish the catalyst. It makes it absolutely fucking overpowered as shit. It is wonderful. Next, we've got mods. Now, I'm not going to bother getting into heavy mod building for this loadout because there aren't really any in specific that genuinely bolster the gimmick in any real meaningful way. We got things like firepower and energy converter, sure, but those require charges of light, and I'm not generating any because I have a trio of mods that are, in my mind, significantly more important to the moment-to-moment combat loop. Starting with elemental armaments. Elemental weapon final blows that match your subclass element have an escalating chance to spawn an elemental well. Typically, Trinity Ghoul is consistently killing multiple things at once, so while that chance might not be buffed, the frequency at which those wells drop is hastened because the chain lightning effect from the bow counts as weapon damage. And then we've got Font of Might and Font of Wisdom, respectively. For Font of Might, collecting subclass matching elemental wells dramatically increases weapon damage for the respective element. In this case, we're talking about arc, so in a nutshell, this is an even stronger buff for an already devastating bow when Lightning Rod is active, and that effect lasts for 10 seconds. And then we got Font of Wisdom. Collecting subclass matching elemental wells increases intellect to tier 10 for 30 seconds. Now, there are a few relic mods that would seemingly work wonders with this, Solo Operative and Monochromatic Maestro to be specific. Now, I can confirm that Monochromatic and Verity's Brow do actually stack, and here's a turret getting fucked up by Verity's Brow on its lonesome. And here is the exact same turret getting fucked up by Verity and Monochromatic stacked together.
How can you like it?
That was a 10,000 point increase to damage. And honestly, I really think that's all the explaining that's required. I do apologize for the delays in videos. If I'm being completely honest, I just have zero desire to play this game right now. I'm just not a big fan of the season. I genuinely think it sucks, but I got a crew that works under me now, so rest assured, albeit begrudgingly, build videos are not going away. Don't forget you can share your own loadouts to be showcased on Build Talks. All you gotta do is just join my Discord, react to the rules, and pinky promise you won't be a dick, and then you're free to share your own builds in their designated build chats. Anyway, I think that's enough yelling for now. I'm gonna go play Dead Space. The remake comes out in like a week, and I am fucking pumped.